In other business news, the South African market is reeling from news of the 30% import tariffs imposed by the United States. Analysts have now raised worries about existing trade deals with the US, including the possible termination of AGOA. Other concerns include the implications on inflation, central bank policy and currency developments. Chief Investment Officer at Prescient Investment Management, Bastian Teichgreeber, speaks to us about these developments. Thank you so much for your time, Bastian. What are the broader economic implications on sectors including food, transport and equipment?
Thanks for having me. Obviously, the implications are big because the 30% tariff is not nothing. So the baseline tariff from the Trump administration applied was 10% across countries. But South Africa finds itself quite high up on the list in terms of how punitive these measures can be. So we're at 30%. So obviously, you have big implications on the different sectors. Like at the top, obviously, our mining and resources sectors heavily hit. Luckily, some of the resources actually are exempt from these tariffs, yet still a big portion of our exports. Industrials, especially double hit now by 30% plus the 25% car tariffs. And then last but not least, we've got the banks, which are not directly hit by tariffs, but more indirectly by the loss in the business confidence and just the generally larger economic uncertainty.
On that note, let's also talk about the implications around currency depreciation, import costs, as well as the inflationary pressures that are likely.
Yeah, 100%. Most likely what we will see is a continued rand depreciation. Well, I have taken quite a bit of a knock already, like 3.5% weaker today and yesterday, basically in combination, which normally would lead to slightly higher inflation, given that we have to import a lot of our petrol and basically oil for our petrol and also food. So there's a natural feed through on our inflation levels, which eventually could lead to high interest rates for longer. Having said that, generally the tariffs to us are not necessarily on a global scale that inflationary because they are also often seen as a once-off effect. So it remains to be seen.
It remains to be seen, but the potential loss of investor confidence as well as the reduction in foreign direct investment are at play. Talk to us about that element.
Yeah, 100%. That's something we're measuring already in real time. There's a big loss in economic confidence, not just in South Africa, but more globally. Like we can see in the United States, a lot of business surveys are tanking, consumer confidence is slumping and investor confidence is receding as well. So translate that into emerging markets, especially to South Africa, where we ourselves, as I mentioned earlier, find ourselves quite high up at the top of the list of tariffs. That is obviously a big knock on investor sentiment. And as you rightly said, we are quite dependent on that for our direct investments, which we need so desperately in this country to grow the economy. So definitely a setback when it comes to that.
Lastly, there's an argument that South Africa could retaliate in its response. So should we get to that point, is it wise to do so, looking at the economics as well as the geopolitical tensions that exist?
If there's a bigger and stronger bully out there, it's never smart to hit back. While I do think the argument about justice in these tariffs can be raised, I do think it's not smart to hit back. It's probably best for us to keep our heads down, except where we're at right now, and work from here. But retaliating just for the sake of it is never a good idea. We must keep in mind that for South Africa, the United States are a big trade partner, and we need a good relationship there. Especially, we need to attract their direct investments. But from a US point of view, South Africa is a tiny contributor to their GDP, so they don't really need us. So retaliation at this point in time, definitely not a good idea.
Measured and diplomatic. Thank you so much for your input. That was Bastian Teichgreeber, Chief Investment Officer at Prescient Investment Management, talking to us in reaction to the US tariffs.